All right, we're going to build a train, a model train, a little train. We'll design it in Inventor. We'll print it on 3D printers, and we'll actually have a train with train tracks. And if we do it well, it'll be a moving train that we design, print, and then have for our classrooms. But we're going to start off by, the reason we're going to do that is to learn a bunch of functions in Inventor. Here's a picture of what it will look like when we're all done. Let me scroll down here a little bit, and we're going to print a bunch of these parts. Today we're going to start with this part right here. We're going to do a smokestack. My objective on the smokestack is not to do it exactly like the PDF that I've shared with your class, but to design one that's pretty similar and has the critical parts the same. In other words, it's going to have to fit with a body we design later and a few things like that. So let's go to Inventor and let's start building this thing. So in Inventor, like always, we're going to get a new part. Here's our new part. We're going to start a sketch. And on this sketch, we're going to go on this X front plane like always. I'm going to build this a little differently. We're going to work on a function called revolve. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a box that it would go in and then trim away some parts and end up with a smokestack. So it's going to be a little different than anything I've showed us before. But I'm going to start off the same. I'm going to put a rectangle starting on the origin. Come out here, doesn't really matter how far. And I'm looking at a picture here, and the box I need to put this thing in looks like it has a dimension of 1.75 inches. So I type in 1.75 like we've done in a lot of these things. Blows it off the screen. I click on front so that it brings it back in a little bit. Now I am going to take this rectangle and I am going to revolve it. So my heights, and by revolve it, literally I mean I'm going to create, well, let me show you what I mean really quick, then I'll come back and do it. If I took this rectangle, finished sketch as is, hit front like this, and I went up here to revolve, and I said on the profile, pick the axis of right here, and revolve it. I'll show you what I have. I have a cylinder. So I can make a cylinder by revolving a rectangle. That's not what I'm after right now, but I show you that because I'm going to have to think in halves as far as building this thing, because I'm going to revolve. This was a rectangle. I'll show you that rectangle. It's this sketch right there. That is what we revolve. So when I was thinking about the whole cylinder, I only have a radius that I revolve to make it work. So anyway, here let's go back to what we're actually doing. I'm going to Control Z a little bit, and now I'm back in my sketch, and I'm going to work on my sketch for what I'm up to. It's going to take a little bit, so you'll have to bear with me just a hair. Now, as I look at this, this needs to fit in the entire, let me say it this way, the entire smokestack has a diameter that is 1.25 inches. Well, I don't know what 1.25 divided by 2 is, but I don't need to know, because I can put in 1.25, divide that by 2, right there in my dimension box, and it does it for me. So that is my dimension I needed. Now what I have to do here is I'm going to create a line or two down through this and trim off what I don't need. I'm looking at the bottom of the smokestack, and in the bottom I need to have another rectangle, and this rectangle, like a lot of them, this one is going to be 0.25. That way it's also going to be 0.25 that way, and I need this little rectangle down the bottom because that's actually the bottom of my smokestack. Now I need to create a slanted line down through here. So I'm just actually going to do that. I'm going to grab this line tool, go from this corner, and I'm going up here a ways, like we do in a lot of things in Inventor, and I just put a slanted line up there. However, I do want the distance from where the line ends to the top corner to be 0.125, excuse me, 0.25 again. So this is 0.25. And you might can start to see how it's taken shape a little bit. My smokestack is. I got a major problem though. It's got too much stuff on it, so I'm going to go over here to trim. And I'm going to get rid of a couple things I don't need. Oh, and it caused my whole thing to shift for a moment. So I'm going to do another quick dimension. I want this dimension over here to be that. And the reason I do that is it will be more likely to be okay to trim some stuff. Now, sometimes these don't like to trim if there's a dimension. So I'm going to right click on a dimension, hit escape so that I just have a cursor, click on that dimension once, and on my keyboard I hit delete. That was on my keyboard I hit a delete, and it'll get rid of a dimension. Sometimes they don't like to go away, and I don't get that all the way. But anyway, trimming, I went up here, hit trim. I'm getting rid of stuff I don't need. I don't need that dude, come to think of it. It says you got a problem. It has a dimension, doesn't want to remove it, so I'm going to come up here, escape, click on it, go to my keyboard, got rid of it. Click on this, go to my keyboard, got rid of that. Go up here to trim, got rid of that. Okay, I'm kind of getting the outline of a smokestack for this thing. My smokestack, however, I want to be hollow. And I want a hollow one, I don't know, 1/8 of an inch thick. Let's say what's going to make this, I don't know if that's thick enough. We'll worry about that later. Yeah, let's go with 1/8 of an inch thick. So what I want to do is I'm going to use this point tool here. And I'm going to come over here and I'm going to plop a point. I just clicked right there. And I want that point to be from that point to this corner. I want it to be 1/8 of an inch. And I don't know what 1/8 of an inch is in a decimal I actually do, but I'll say I don't. But I don't need to. I'll say 1 divided by 8. There we go. And that's 1/8 of an inch now. I'm going to use my point tool some more. I'm going to come up here and it shows me I'm right in line with it there and there, and I click. I'm going to come way up here, and if I blow it up a little bit, it shows me I'm right in line here, but I want a dimension from that point to that point. Yep, I want this to be 1 divided by 8. And so I've got another 1 divided by 8, and I'm going to do that one more place. I'm going to drop a point right up on this line, and I want this distance from that corner to that point. It says I'm right. I'm going to put in 1 divided by 8 anyway, just to make sure. So now I have all these points I just threw around, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect them. And so I'm going to come over here with a line. I'm going to go from, it turns to green, to green, to green, to green. I just connected all those points. I think it's going to work out all right. But now I got to get rid of some more stuff, so that's over here in trim. And in trim, I don't need that. I do need that. Ooh, I don't need this little piece right here. Did it let me get rid of it? Trim that dude. I think it let me get rid of it. So I have this just kind of swervy looking dude sitting here. I am going to finish that. I'm going to click on my front to bring it back here. I can use home if I want to kind of give it a side angle. But now I'm going to revolve. Alright, so now we're going to revolve. I need to revolve it on an axis. So right here, I pick axis. I want this to be my axis. Profile, I want this to be my profile. It zips around. Wow, I think I got a pretty sharp looking smokestack right now. I'm going to grab it, move it around, look at it. It's hollow on both ends. I'm fairly pleased with it. It's a little bit different than the PDF I sent you, but as the essential parts down here, it's going to fit in the spot designated in the train body. I'm liking this. Like everything, let's get really organized in how we save things. I need to find a spot, and I have one on my desktop for this class. I need in here a new folder because I'm going to make a movie and all kinds of stuff. In fact, at one point, I'm going to make a movie of this train going down train tracks. So I'm going to make this my train folder. So in my train folder, in here, I'm not going to call this part 5. No way. I am going to call it, I'm going to call it my smokestack, because that is what I've been calling it all along. So I've saved my smokestack. All right, so I have a smokestack, and we learned several things: the point tool, the revolve, trim, probably some other things along the way as well. But that's enough for today. So now we need you to try and build a smokestack.